Good morning. So today we're going to review a little bit for our test. Okay. So first I want to talk about your circles and what we kind of have talked about tangents. Tangents, remember, are lines that will intersect the outside of your circle. Okay, sorry, it's not very good drawing there, but that would be like a point on the circle. Whoa, S there. Ay. So let's call that S there. Okay, so that would be considered a tangent. Remember, a secant is something that goes through the circle. Okay, would be a secant because it's going to go through the circle at two values there. Okay, a chord is touching, not going through the center. Okay, the remember your diameter. Your diameter goes through the middle of the circle. Okay, diameter goes through the middle of the circle, and then your radius would be half of it. Okay, so your radius would be something like this. Okay, would be your radius. Okay. Okay, so if I wanted to look at the circle and I wanted to find the circumference of the circle, okay, remember your circumference is pi times your diameter. Okay, or it could be what? 2 radius pi. So if I wanted to find the circumference here, then I would say this is the diameter, so pi times 21. Okay, if I wanted to find the area here, the area is pi r squared no matter what. Okay, it's pi r squared. So I would have to find my radius. So my radius would be what? Half of 21. So this would be pi times 21 over 2 squared. Okay? Okay, so if I want to solve here, solve for x here, remember that this arc here is going to be the same measure as this arc over here. Well, if this is 45 degrees, then this means that this one's 45 degrees. Remember, the sum is going to be 360. So I'll say 360 minus 45 minus 45. So it's going to be a total of 270. But there's two arcs there, so 270 divided by 2 would give me a 135. Okay, so that 6x right here, this 6x plus 33 is going to be equal to a 135. So let's solve. Move that over. So we'll have 6x is equal to a 102 divided by 6. So x here is going to be equal to a 17. Okay. Okay. So let's do another one here. So if the circle below has a radius of 15 centimeters, find each arc length. Okay. To find the arc lengths, we know that this side, that yx there is 26. So this uv over here is also going to be 26, right? This is a right angle, so this is going to be 90 degrees. Okay, so if that's 90 degrees, then this side over here, so we've got our 26. This is 26 degrees here, and this is 26 degrees. So these other two, these two things are also going to be equal to each other. So if I take 360, okay, if I take 360 and subtract 26 and 26. That gives me with what, 308? If I divide 308 by 2, then that would give me this side is going to be 154. So that means that this other side, this VW there, will be 154 minus 90. So that's going to be what, 64? Okay, so the radius is 15 centimeters. All right, so what I want to find here, so I want to find the arc length for VW here. Okay, so the arc length for VW, remember it's going to be your angle measurement. So it's going to be your angle measurement of VZW, okay, times pi times 2r, okay, all over 360. Okay, so that's going to be 64 times pi times 2 times 15 all over 360. Okay, so put that all in your calculator. So that'll be 64 times 30 divided by 360 times pi here. So I'll get a decimal of 16.76. Okay, so also something to note that those first 2 pages of the study guide that have like all the formulas on them, arc length, all this area formulas, I will allow you to have that on your test tomorrow. Okay, so something to remember, so you won't have to memorize all these formulas. Okay, so let's look here. So if measure of the arc DC is equal to 12x plus 7, okay, so DC here is 12x plus 7, and CB is 18x minus 23, okay, find the measure of DAB. So what I want to find is this arc here. Okay, so what can I do here? Those are chords inside of a circle, so those two are going to be equal to each other. So 18x minus 23 is going to be equal to 12x plus 7. So if I solve here, subtract 12x, so that's going to be a 6x. Add your 23, so that's going to be a 30. Divide both sides by 6, so x here is going to be equal to 5. Okay? So what could I find? I could find this measure here. I could find DCB and subtract it from 360, right? Okay, so if I find the measure, so the measure of DC here is going to be 12 times 5 plus 7. So 12 times 5 plus a 7 is going to give me a 67. So that's the same thing as the CB, so that times 2, right? So 67 times 2 is going to give me a 134. So DCB is going to be a 134. So subtract that from 360. Is going to give me a 226. And that 226 is going to be the measure of DAB. Good? Okay, let's do another one here. So if measure of BCD is 7x plus a 10, and the measure of BAD, so this arc here, so here this arc is going to be equal to a 19x minus 50, and I know the measure inside here, this angle, is going to be 7x plus a 10. Okay, so remember, 2 times that angle is going to be equal to the arc. So it's going to be 2 times 7x plus a 10 is going to be equal to a 19x minus a 50. So it's going to be a 14x plus a 20. Solve for x, so we subtract, so it's going to be a negative 5x is equal to a negative 70. Divide both sides by negative 5, so x is going to be equal to a 14. So what I'm looking for is BAD, so I'm looking for BAD, and that's going to be 19 times 14 minus a 50, so that's going to be a 216. Okay, all right, let's do another one here. So if measure of angle K is 8x minus 19, and the measure of angle M, so remember these two things would add together to be 180, okay? So that would mean the measure of angle K plus the measure of angle M is equal to 180. So that would be 8x minus a 19 plus 5x plus a 43 is going to give me a 180. Okay, so 8 plus a 5 is going to give me a 13x. 43 minus a 19 is going to give me a 24. Subtract your 24, so I'm going to get 13x is going to be equal to a 156, and x here is going to be equal to a 12. So if I want to find measure of angle M here, then we plug it back in, so 5 times 12 plus a 43. So it's going to give me a 103. Okay, so here I want to solve for x. I've got a tangent. I've got a tangent, and okay. So with that tangent, I've got a 90 degrees. So if I wanted to find x, I could use the Pythagorean Theorem. Well, I know that this part is 8, so my hypotenuse here is going to be a 19. So that's going to be x squared plus an 8 squared is going to be equal to a 19 squared. So that's x squared plus a 64 is equal to a 361. And subtract your 64, so it's going to be a 297. And then take the square root of both sides, which is equivalent to about 17.23. It's a positive and a negative, but we're always going to look at the positive when we're looking at lengths. Okay? All right, let's look here. So if chord DE is equal and EF are tangent, okay, so when they're tangent to the circle, then that means that those two are going to be congruent. So that's going to be 10x minus 19 is equal to 4x plus a 23. So subtract, so that's going to be a 6x is equal to a 42, so x is going to be equal to a 7. So if I wanted to find EF, then I plug it back in. So 10 times 7 minus a 19. So 70 minus a 19, so that is a, 51? Okay. All right, let's look here. All right, so if I'm looking for the measure of K, L, and M, K, L, and M, okay, would be half. So it would be 1/2 of this arc plus, or minus, well, this arc minus this top arc. Okay, so that'd be 125 minus 51. Okay, so 125 minus a 51 is 74, and take half of it, so it's going to be 37. Okay. All right, let's look here. So if I know that, if I want to find measure of the arc MLP, so that's that side over here. Okay, I've got a tangent and I've got a secant. Okay, so remember what that is. So that is 1/2. So it's 1/2 your length here, x, minus your 91 here. Okay, it's going to be equal to that 75. Okay, so I'll have 75 is equal to 1/2 times x minus 91. Multiply both sides by 2, so that'll be what, 150 is equal to x minus 91. Add your 91, so x here is going to be equal to 241. Okay, let's look here. So if the arc MOP, okay, so if this arc here, MOP, is equal to 11x minus 38, and the arc L, or the measure of angle L, M, and P, so this angle here is going to be equal to 3x plus a 41, okay? So that means that that arc is going to be equal to 2 times this angle here. So 11x minus a 38 is going to be equal to 2 times that 3x plus 41. So we'll have 11x minus a 38 is equal to 6x plus an 82. Subtract, so you'll get a 5x is equal to a 120, and x is going to be equal to a 24. Okay, so find the measure in MP. Okay, so if I could find the measure of LMP, then I could subtract that from 180 because that's a tangent, so it's a straight line there. Okay, so 3 times 24 plus a 41. So 3 times a 24 plus a 41, that'll give me a 113. Okay, so then the measure of angle in MP is going to be 180 minus 113, which is going to give me a 67. Okay, so that is your review for your test tomorrow. You will be able to use that front and back sheet, and you can write other formulas in the margins if you want to, or write anything that can fit in those margins. Okay, all right. I hope you have a great day.